You have inherent and significant value. That's part of what he sees in you, but he sees sort of the best of you. Welcome back to Global Perspectives. In one of the last blogs, I had mentioned that I would be doing one on your life from God's perspective after the follow-up of your view of God. So let's launch in this one today. 5 points. The first was, how does God see you? What he sees is intense value. Every human life has value. We know that, so we sometimes argue it from different perspectives. But very simply, from God's perspective, your life has value. Therefore, you're worthy of new life and his significant investment in you, that you are redeemable. Again, not a word we use that often, but from his perspective, it's one that he holds on to. Just to take this another step, in the 1980s, a book that's still referenced widely some 40 years later, Dennis Waitley wrote a book called The Psychology of Winning. And in The Psychology of Winning, he gives all these scenarios of just what human potential can look like. He's the one that recorded all of the stories of what happened to Vietnam War veterans in the Hanoi Hilton. And without practicing anything, just doing things in their head, they could end up doing phenomenal things within weeks of being released from prison in Vietnam. That human potential thing's significant, and sometimes we don't spend enough time thinking about it, but God does. So let's just frame it this way. In a quick overview summary of the gospel, from the very heart of the Father, he so loved you that he would send his one and only Son. The Son, in partnership with the work of the Father, said, I will give my life to redeem you, buy you back from the other side. And then, under the empowerment of the Spirit, it's this combination of, we're going to take you to a whole nother level. You're going to be conformed to the very image of the Son of God. Pretty good theology. It's worth living into. So if the first part of how God sees you is to look at the what, now let's look at the how he sees you. He sees you as an heir. It's not a word we use that often, but in the ancient Near East, it was a very common terminology, that the firstborn son was the one who got the benefits. And in Christ, we are told that all of us, male, female, young, old, all are first treated as firstborn heirs. The benefits that go to the firstborn are ours in him. Female and male, young and old, we are in him. So what you are and what you will become is part of what he sees you. He doesn't see you as the other side of, for you, the sum total of sometimes your life experiences, that sometimes what's often remembered are not the best ones. That is not how he sees you. What he sees, how he sees, is what you are and what you will become. In Colossians, he actually frames it as, you are holy and dearly loved. Stick with that one. Now, what doesn't he see when he sees you? That one's also as significant, because your failures aren't what he remembers. They stick out in your head, and some of you very dramatically. But things like leftover mistakes, sins, bad choices, stupid things of back in your youth and young adulthood, judgments you made that weren't the best ones. That's not what he sees. You see, in his mind, those are gone. They're updated, they're forgiven. So when he looks at you, he doesn't remember the sum total of the worst mistakes you've made. He can take care of those so that when he looks at you, he doesn't see them. So that's why we have to coach people in areas of soul care to stop apologizing, stop repenting, stop confessing the same things over and over again. The reason why they're still there in your head is not based on anything from God. It's a sheer human thing. It's a shame base. And you have to update this view so that you can live like those are actually gone, instead of the implications and ramifications are still in your life and God sees them. That's not on his side. That one's yours. Let's look at his dream for you. I know it sounds kind of idealistic, but I am convinced that God is a dreamer. My own life, God's a dreamer. I mean, the fact that I do what I do and where I started, two very different things. When I'm speaking to a general audience, I will often say the fact that you are sitting here, like in an all-day conference about developing your own life or changing your life or issues of your heart and soul, the fact that you have taken a day to come and sit in this for where you were 20 or 30 years ago, oh dear God, he has to be a dreamer. Because the fact that you're sitting here mostly clothed and in your right mind, yeah, that's a stretch from people who knew you then. So that's what he sees. He has this sense of his dream. Think about it. God has a dream for you, for your life, your connections, the outcomes of that life. He is a dreamer. Focus on it. So start very simply. Take a part of a day, a couple of hours. Ask, listen, journal, see what comes. Don't screen it, just see what comes. Very often people will record how much they get out of this. So look at your value, your ability. If you even want to take it that far, your actual destiny. God has something in mind for you. That's not just nice pop psychology talk. It's authentic and it's real. May you begin to identify it and then live into it. Our fifth principle is, once you have discovered some of this, now live into it. You have to update. Updates are so required. So in order to do it, you've got to offload some old stuff that doesn't belong anymore. It's like people who lose weight and they're still trying to wear what they call their fat clothes. It doesn't fit anymore. They look sort of strange in them because they've not updated their view of themselves. We discover in human connections, updating is very significant. Very often we tell stories about somebody else that are somewhere between 2 and 20 years old. It's probably not true of their life anymore, but we still tell them, well, she's this, or yeah, he was this, like it's still real and true when it's not. And doing couples conferences, one of the things that always sticks out in people's minds is I talk them through how to update your view of your partner. Parents have to do that on their view of their children. They're still seeing their kids as the one who made a lot of the screw-ups when they were young. They've moved past it, but at home they still feel like that happens to them. Some of us actually do it ourselves. We've not updated our view of us. God has. He's hoping we do. We just haven't gotten there yet. So let's update this. And finally, in your relationship with God, let's ask this final question. What does he enjoy most? We usually ask it from the other side. What do you like most in your relationship with the divine, with the creator of the universe, with the father of your soul, however you frame it? Yeah, let's ask it from the other side today. What does he like most in his relationship with you? Do you guys laugh together? Do you feel the enjoyment that he might have for you? Is it fun to dream together and say, what would it be like when? If only I will. Imagine when this happens. You see, very often, God's hoping, he really is hoping that you can see your life the way he sees it. When you get that, step into that. So wrap it up. Take some of these suggestions and update your view, not just of God, but his view of you. Enjoy it. It's kind of fun, and it will take you to a whole nother level. Your life from God's view.